I want to leave it open-ended. Thoughts on anything that you might use as propaganda to help somebody convince their significant other who might be having some struggles with any of the things about the topic of purchasing a plane.
Yep. Today we're getting the non-flying spouse's perspective on a few things around the purchasing and owning of an airplane. I'm going to ask early in this video for a like and a subscribe from you, but moreover, I want to get some engagement down in the comments on this video. So if you have questions you'd like to hear the other half's thoughts on, we'll try to answer more of these in a future video. So leave them below. For now, let's get on with it.
Welcome back. Today we're on a quick trip to visit the apiaries, the beehives, for this one's extra hobbies. One of this one's extra hobbies. And we're just kind of adding to the growing list of reasons why we can justify owning a plane. Maybe a little bit overkill, but we have it nonetheless. On the way, I wanted to pick Alila's brain on why she's been mostly supportive in this pursuit of purchasing and owning and dealing with us having a plane. So if you're kind of facing a similar conversation with your significant other, and it's been a challenge because perhaps they're non-flying, as Alila is non-flying, this might be a conversation that can help you figure out how to broach that topic. But we are now ready to get off the ground here in Chicago, and we'll rejoin you back in the air.
Description, Columbia 371, Bravo Golf 6 Tower, turn left to the east, runway 16, start takeoff.
Left to the east, clear for takeoff 16, Bravo Golf.
Sundown 6 for November, be on the lookout, Columbia traffic is about to depart runway 16 eastbound. Roger, looking for 6 for November.
Airspeed's alive, gauges are good, throttle's set.
Sundown 6 for November. Continue flying north along the lake shore to avoid that traffic, and then I'll call your left base into the field. Roger, north along the shore, you'll call our base 6 for November.
Alright, so as we have leveled out for the departure here, I'm going to ask my first question of you, that maybe you can share your thoughts with our viewers. Broadly speaking, since I got my license, you've been supportive of my desire and my endeavor to purchase a plane. What was your mindset being so supportive of this process?
I think we were really weighing the convenience of being able to own a plane versus constantly having to rent.
Definitely a factor.
I think there's also a lot more control in knowing, all right, we've got 4 seats versus, you know, kind of being at the mercy of what's available. So, yeah, it kind of made sense at that point. I think the other one was being able to understand what our limitations are. Like, when we bought this plane, the mindset was, can we fit skis into it? Can we fit the scuba equipment that we need? Can we have an additional couple people at least come along with us if needed? So...
Alright, let's get on to question 2. It was a bit stressful owning this plane for about the first year to year and a half. As we were kind of limited in its use. Like today's a good example. It's very hazy, and I didn't have an instrument rating. And we also deal with the uncertainty of Chicago winters, and this plane does not have de-ice capability. So there are a handful of factors, on top of which, you know, I was working towards my instrument rating. So you didn't really see the utilization of the plane for a while. But from your perspective, at this particular moment in time with all of that behind us, what does having the plane allow us to do and plan for that we might otherwise never consider doing or find very impractical?
Well, we can certainly just jump into the plane and go visit friends that have moved out to other areas of the country. We have family in other areas of the country. That's certainly a huge plus. Not only that, I think it incentivizes us to explore more of the United States in order to go skiing, go backpacking, and there's so many more regional airports throughout the U.S. versus the major airports that people generally fly into that it's just a lot more convenient.
One of our missions that you mentioned is traveling to see friends and family who have scattered across the country.
Yep.
You know, it influenced our plane selection to a degree. If we were just staying regional and flying to visit people in Wisconsin or Indiana, we may have ended up with a completely different plane that, you know, fit a different niche. So that was a factor for us. Do you think that our choice of missions directly influenced the plane, or do you think that we would still have been willing to travel further with multiple fuel stops over a longer period of time?
Given that you and I both work full-time and then some, I don't see how it would have been feasible. Like, you really do need a high-performance plane if you're trying to balance a Monday through Friday schedule and you have other obligations, whether it's kids, even pets. So there are limitations that we would have if it wasn't for the high-performance setting.
What are you most looking forward to by having the option to avoid airlines?
The lines, TSA, no.
You're looking forward to TSA?
Oh my gosh. I think that this definitely is just a nice option to not have to worry about what are big ticket costs. Are you going to get bumped to another flight? There's so many issues when you're flying commercially, and you have so much more freedom when you own a plane. Especially if you do have that need to fly a state or two over versus sitting in the car for 6 to 8 hours. It's just, yeah.
The airlines are doing a better job of flying point to point, but you're right, there's still a lot of regions, even domestically, that it's multiple connections. It's, you know, being only within a couple of 100 miles, you still end up renting a car, especially some of the places that we want to explore. If you're talking a national park, or if you're talking, you know, various campgrounds, friends and family who live in small towns. The airlines are great and they're reliable, but, well, short of some IT meltdowns.
Yeah.
But, you know, more and more of those locations end up being multiple stops, which we don't have to always deal with, and when we do, they're a lot quicker.
I have a different opinion of this based on recent experience. Like going out to Denver with Nick to go skiing, we had a connecting flight to Fargo. It was supposed to be a 45-minute layover. We got bumped until their next flight, which was over 6 hours later. Being stuck in Fargo, where it's 3 gates at that airport, is not the ideal scenario. So yeah, by the time we actually got to Denver, it was about 9:30 at night, and then we had to drive out to our hotel.
All right, this is a question that has two sides. One of them, we're going to look at the positives, and one we're going to look at the negatives of owning a plane. Now, we know they're expensive. That's not a good thing, but I don't want to focus on that alone as a bad thing. What has surprised you the most in a positive way about being able to travel in the plane?
So I have my outlet in order to keep my sanity, and that's exercise and yoga. And I feel like this has been your outlet to kind of find that time away from home, to be able to find your focus and your mental clarity in a way that I think impacts your overall well-being. Like, everybody's got a thing, and I think this is your thing.
Call it my altitude adjustment.
Your altitude adjustment, there you go.
All right, so then let's look at the other side of it.
Okay.
What has been the most unexpected thing on the negative side of owning the plane?
I think when we bought the plane, we had expectations that the checkover from the individual that looked it over for any maintenance problems that were glaring left us feeling like it was going to be a very minimal amount of maintenance that had to be done. And, you know, I think that falls back to whether or not it's a maintenance shop that you have been recommended and have a lot of trust in, whether you're going to a place that just happens to be conveniently close to home. There's a lot of variables that kind of came into play there, and there ended up needing to be a lot more done that we hadn't really anticipated.
I would kind of second that opinion. There were a few things that, as much research as I did, which you might be able to substantiate, was a fair bit. You're never really prepared for when somebody misleads you on things. And even if you're recommended a good quality shop, they might have a different agenda than what you're looking to get done.
Right.
And we learned through experience there the shops that don't do as well. We have since found a much more relatable shop, both in terms of cost and the ability to discuss the actual issues. But that was definitely unexpected. You know, buying a plane, people don't necessarily fix everything to sell it, but we definitely had different expectations on the day I landed with the plane at home versus that first annual.
Yeah, I mean, that first annual, you're really at the mercy of the people that were telling you these are all the things that have to be fixed, and you didn't have a way out. It was just, it is what it is.
It's true. So definitely a need to educate yourself on some of the maintenance regulations when you're going into ownership.
Right.
And, you know, the character of your shop is hard to know ahead of time, but get as many referrals as you can, and definitely try to find a shop that is well recommended in your type of plane. You know, this one has some uniqueness to it, and is not super prevalent out in the marketplace, but there are people who are willing to work with you and work for you. I don't want to give that the wrong connotation, but there's ways to get through that. But I'm going to go on to the next question because it's all tied into those things. At the end of the day, we have good things expected and unexpected, bad things expected and unexpected. Do you still feel comfortable with the fact that we own a plane and have to maintain a plane with the opportunities we get from it?
I mean, yeah, I'm comfortable with it. I don't think it's the same as when you own a car. You know, this is something that really is more of a long-term investment. So, and therefore, you know, when you own a plane, yeah, make sure that you've got that vacation time set aside and that you have freedom in your day-to-day schedule in order to be able to truly travel and enjoy it. Otherwise, it's just a toy.
All right, that's fair. Well, let's finish a little bit open-ended because our flight is actually almost over already. I want to leave it open-ended. Thoughts on anything that you might use as propaganda to help somebody convince their significant other who might be having some struggles with any of the things about the topic of purchasing a plane that maybe you can help coach some people through, whether it's just the empathic view of what their significant other might be struggling with or anything surrounding it.
Yeah, I think you already answered it. I mean, it's really taking into account and being empathetic toward your significant other as to how they feel about flying, how they feel about the cost of a plane too. You don't want to mislead them either, because then it is going to become a constant point of argument going forward. Like, you really have to lay your cards out on the table so they know what they're about to get into, in addition to understanding what their reservations are. So if you have a spouse that has no interest in traveling, you know, you're going to have to look at it from the angle of, well, now they'll have more time to themselves to pursue their hobbies or do things that they maybe want to have that time to themselves for. If they want to travel, then hey, you know, it's a matter of really understanding what types of travel they're interested in.
So we have the option to fly a lot more now, both with me getting more ratings and just various things in time, training being over, or IFR training being over. But we also both do a lot of extra things. In your case, starting a small business. Curious if you want to take a moment to share with any potential viewers what you've been up to, and maybe they want to help you with it.
Sure. So I have been a yoga and fitness instructor for over 11 years, and a huge tea enthusiast. So when I combine the two, they seem to complement each other pretty well. So I have a website that I just launched, sipandstretchtea.com. And
link will be down in the description.
I will be offering more and more 15 to 30 minute videos for workouts, as well as about 20 different tea varieties that we have on the website right now. I hope to expand that out as time continues. And my intention is eventually to set up a brick and mortar in Indiana where I'll be able to combine those two hobbies.
So check that out.
As we approach and land here in Michigan City, albeit a little bit on the floaty side, I want to ask again for your questions down in the comments below. I do also appreciate you watching, especially if you made it this far, and I wish you the best in your conversations with your significant other if that's something you're facing.